This is a little update on where I'm at on the disassembly and rejuvenation of this 1976 Harley-Davidson Aermacchi SS125 motorcycle that I brought home a couple months ago. I'm stripping down parts of it in order to get better access to the engine, because this is really my primary objective, is to get this motorcycle running. So in order to do that, I've got the seat off, which I found to be in very good condition. I've got the gas tank off, which externally is in pretty good condition, internally just completely packed with rust. I've got the oil tank off, which is in pretty good condition. It had two-stroke oil in it, and even the filter inside it is in fairly good shape. So I've got the Airbox assembly off, and I've got the battery out, and right here you'll see I've just got the cover for the oil pump off. Let's get into a little bit of detail on some of these components and where those are at in the process. As I talked about a little bit ago, this is the seat. It's in very good condition. It's got no rips, tears. It's all complete. Even the underside of the pan is really pretty clean. Just some cobwebs, the usual dirt, and the foam is in really nice shape. The rubber pads are pretty hard, but I don't think that's really a problem. You can see here some of the glue has kind of come apart over the years, but really very superficial, very little wrong with the seat. Now moving over to the fuel tank, on the outside it's pretty good. It's still very dirty and not very shiny. Once we get the inside taken care of this gas tank, we'll worry about the outside. I think the outside will clean up pretty well. See if we can show you what the inside of the tank looks like. I would classify that as not very good. I've put a fair amount of gasoline in the tank and sloshed it around in order to loosen some of the rust, and dumped out a lot of solid material. There's still quite a bit more in there. Coming up, I'm gonna attack the inside of the tank, probably use apple cider vinegar to attack the rust, and then rinse that out very well. I'm still not completely decided on what I'm going to do with the inside of the tank as far as protecting it and coating it once I've got it reasonably clean inside. But like I said, there's just lots and lots of particulate in there still. These are the side covers that constitute the bodywork of this motorcycle. This is the left side. Not much to it. It's really just a cover. The paint on it is pretty good. It needs to be cleaned up, but I think it'll be fine. The emblem is in very good shape. The right side cover is also generally in pretty good shape. Again, the cover itself, it really doesn't do much other than cover up the ugly bits of the motorcycle. This is the air cleaner assembly, and this is the front of the air cleaner. This attaches to the inlet side of the carburetor. All right, I've got the right side cover just loosely assembled to get into the air box and air filter area. Typically this filter is held in and the cover is held on, by a long bolt that comes all the way through the airbox. It's not here. The filter element is just a piece of foam. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. Appears to be bonded to this aluminum expanded metal just for reinforcement to keep it from getting sucked into the engine. Now, this is typically held in with a rubber gasket that I've already taken off just for purpose of ease of disassembly for this video. The rubber gasket is right here. It's in very good shape, so I don't believe I'll be replacing that. The airbox assembly is supposed to be bolted in. It's a little bunged up, so I've got to do some repair to that. Inside this airbox assembly is this divider part. Again, that retaining bolt would come right through this hole. The way this air cleaner works is the air is drawn in from the back side. It comes up through the air filter element and then through this channel, which takes it into this plenum and then is drawn into the carburetor. That is not very good. The bolt has pulled through the back part of this plenum, is completely wrecked, so we'll need to make a repair to that. Also, this adapter that would go onto the carburetor looks like it's been beat up a little bit, because when this plenum and airbox assembly is in place, that neck does not really fit onto the carburetor. Let's take a look at the two-stroke oil system. This is the filler neck for the oil tank. There's a vented cap that goes on here. This would connect to this part of the tank, and then it's drawn out from the tank by that little nipple down there on the bottom. Take this out so we can see it in a little more detail. So there's the tank itself. This is the two-stroke oil filter, and this filter appears to be in pretty good shape, pretty clean. There was a considerable amount of oil in the tank. Well, I say that. I look down inside. This needs a good cleaning, and then I'll check all the strainer, make sure it's not breached somehow. The tank is fairly straightforward, just a little blow molded plastic. This nipple, this is a vent hose. The vented cap to the filler runs to this nipple, and actually there's still a piece of the hose on here. All of the oil and fuel hoses on this motorcycle are hard as a rock, so that is all going to have to be replaced. The oil comes out through this nipple on the bottom. Go to the other side. Okay, again, the tank is mounted sort of in this position on the motorcycle, and this nipple here on the bottom is how the two-stroke oil is drawn out ultimately to the carburetor. It comes out through this hard as a rock hose, which leads to the oil pump. This is the oil pump inlet. This is the oil pump outlet. The oil pump is operated by the throttle. The throttle cable splits right here. So when you twist the throttle cable, this part goes to the carburetor, the butterfly on the carburetor, and this part goes to the oil pump. All of these lines, even inside, are just completely hardened. So that's going to be something going to have to address before we try to start this thing. One thing I'll mention is that I have not drained the engine oil out of this yet, but I will do that. Another thing I want to mention while we're talking about the oil tank is that when this oil tank is in place, it's very close to the spark plug, and there's just enough room to get the spark plug boot off, but there's not enough room to get a typical spark plug socket on this guy. So I'm going to have to look around for a very short socket to maintain this spark plug. I did have the spark plug out, cleaned it up, looks great, frankly. Pop that guy back on. The carburetor I've done nothing with. I've just got a blue rag in there to keep it from being occupied. But the slide works fine. Carburetor seems to be generally free. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to take this carburetor apart and rebuild it before I try to start the motorcycle. I think I probably should, but part of me wants to just try it, just to see. This is about 90% of the electrical system on this motorcycle. The battery lives down here in this battery tray. We've got the coil, we've got the resistor here. This is the ignition. So it's very simple, straightforward electrics. I think put a battery in it and just run through it with a multimeter and should be able to determine right away whether or not the electrical system is generally together and competent and complete enough to make the motorcycle run. When you kick it over and the battery's in it and the ignition's on, it should make spark. So that'll be something to look forward to. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. This is something I like to do in the shop when I'm working on motorcycles in this case. I like to keep all of the small parts together as much as I can. I keep them in one of these magnetic metal parts trays that you can get anywhere. And I just put a shop rag in there. If I need to use this tray for something else, or I just need to park all these pieces somewhere, like in a little plastic bin, I can just fold up the corners of the rag, take them all out, put them in the bin, put them away, and they stay together. Very nice, very easy. What I plan to do next on this motorcycle is get after that tank. I'll probably work on that over the Thanksgiving weekend, because those of you who are familiar with motorcycle gas tanks, the process of cleaning the tank and coating it properly to prevent further rust is a very long process. It takes several days to do it properly. So need a little bit of time to work on that. The other thing I'm going to do, maybe while that's on a low simmer, is get the motorcycle outside, spray some S100 or something on it, give it a bath, try to knock all the big chunks off, just generally clean it up. It'll be a lot more pleasant to work on, for me anyway.